And then we get a little bugger, a tot of rum. Ha 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 ha! Cheers, ladies.
Well, ladies, wasn't that educational? I really must ask Pam how she found him. That's not quite the talk on tackling global piracy I was expecting.
That it was. Sorry, Yvonne. Yes, very informative.
It's okay, Sheila. We all know how seriously you take these sessions. Well, ladies, thank you for joining me for another Horsham Elite Ladies Lockdown. Welcome. Now, I know the numbers have been dropping slightly due to Philip and Holly returning to this morning, but it's good to have you here. As you know, I feel these sessions are very important to boost our morale and to take care of the mental health of our members.
Absolutely, Yvonne. Go the Horsham Elite Ladies in Lockdown.
Thank you, Sheila. Well, ladies, how have we all been doing this week? I know I've been pretty busy. Shall we start as we always do? What are we having for lunch?
Well, Yvonne, I've been busy homeschooling my nephew this week, so I only had time to prepare a simple salmon roulade with crack bolge wheat side salad. Not up to my usual standards, I'm afraid.
Oh, well done you, Val. I've been busy giving virtual sewing lessons to the old folks at the bottom of the road. It's so good to give back, you know. So I've only had time to prepare a very simple mackerel souffle with pomme noisettes, roasted couscous and a ridiculously thrown together tartare.
Gosh, haven't you both done so well? I've been run off my feet this week, running a virtual scout jamboree and week-long Bob a Job week. We pair up talented young scouts with some more of our vulnerable neighbours, getting them to do jobs like shopping or fixing roof tiles, rewiring the potting shed. We really do have some talented young folk in our scout troop. I've barely had time to put together a tuna and tomato medley with dill vinaigrette, dauphinoise gluten-free potatoes, a seasonal vegetable terrine, and a scandalously patchworked baked Alaska. Of course, it's all packed away in my trusty hostess trolley. Frank's walking saffron, so we won't eat until he gets back.
Well, ladies, you have really outdone yourselves. I am impressed. As you know, I have been absolutely run ragged this week, trying to organise this year's virtual Horsham Festival, an event which utilises the skills of rehabilitated offenders to host the annual Shelley Supper, which raises money for Romanian orphanages. I had absolutely no time to conjure my honey-roasted pheasant with partridge parfait, glazed seasonal vegetables in a bramble jus, and fondant potatoes with a rosemary foam, let alone finish my famous county-wide creme brulee with saffron custard and chantilly donuts with a citrus glaze, and my humble sugarwork penguins to decorate. So charming. I simply don't know how I found the time.
Yes, they're just darling.
Of course, I've had to set it in the dining room. As you know, Anthony insists on eating with me, and he's in a virtual conference until at least 2 today. Well, bon appetit, ladies. We never seem to have long enough for these meetings, do we? There's always something to do. Who said lockdown was boring?
That's so true. I would love to stay longer, but I have a French lesson this afternoon. I've taken the opportunity that lockdown has afforded us to better myself by the acquisition of a foreign language. And French is so useful, n'est-ce pas? All those trips to Paris, Cannes and Nice, it'll be so useful to talk to the locals in their own tongue.
Oh, I do so agree with you, Valerie. Having a second or even a third language never comes in wrong. French is so straightforward, isn't it? I mean, you already know all the letters, so picking up the rest is really no trouble at all. I've been learning a new lockdown language too. Sergey, my tutor, says my accent is очень authentic. That means very authentic. Russian is one of the oldest languages in Europe and one of the most noble. And it can be quite tricky because, of course, the alphabet is Cyrillic. But Sergey, my instructor, he's ex-KGB, you know, so his English is excellent. He says I am doing отлично как родной, which means very well, like a native.
Indian say no katabai, Cynthia. Words of great wisdom. It is always a joy to learn a new language, especially one of an ancient noble culture. Of course, the Sakurai Festival of Japan dates back hundreds of years and so wonderful to witness. My sensei says I'm doing very well, despite having to learn all about kanji. They don't have a conventional alphabet, you know, so it's much harder to get the knack of in comparison to any European language. My sensei says my Japanese is oijoi kani boiidoi arafushi, like a waterfall, soothing and gentle in equal measure. And of course, Japanese is the modern language of business. It's taking over from English nowadays.
称为抽样有文化的朋友中的语文，我们是读语文新语。How fortunate we are to have such cultured friends. I can hear that you have all been doing wonderfully well in lockdown, and such exotic languages. Now, I am sure that we would all acknowledge that Japan has one of the oldest cultures in the world. Of course, it owes much of its culture to China. Even those tricky kanji, Sheila. They are a puzzle, aren't they? I know it took me a while. Unfortunately, I've had to give up my Chinese lessons. I just don't have time to teach anything these days. I'm far too busy knitting mittens for kittens in Italy. Some of the injuries have been so shocking. The poor little mites. Lockdown has been so hard for them.
Oh, how wonderful of you, Yvonne. I've picked up sticks, as it were, during the lockdown myself. I've been knitting vests for the elderly of Azerbaijan. It gets so cold there, and many of them don't have access to proper thermal undergarments. It's just a small way of doing my bit for others. And the thank you letters from the dear old folks are so touching.
Oh, Val, I know just how you feel. I pressed my old singer into action. I've been making boiler suits for Bosnian firefighters. They have so little in the way of PPE and the work they do is so vital. I just couldn't sit here in my comfortable home and do nothing. I mean, one only does it for the good of it. But the letter I received from the mayor of Sarajevo, well, it was so overwhelming. And it brought more than one tear to my eye, I can tell you.
Cynthia, Val, stop it. You'll set me off too. I, like all the Horsham elite ladies in lockdown, felt positively uncomfortable in my luxurious homestead. I had to do something useful. I'm afraid I don't know how to knit, so I had to settle for helping ventilators of Venezuela. We have all seen on the news how hard hit South America has been by the pandemic. It really is a tragedy. My night school degree in electrical engineering doesn't give me the power to knit mittens, but I can throw together a simple yet effective ventilator, and they're so needed in Venezuela right now. Of course, receiving the Order of the Liberator was, totally unexpected, and such a lovely gesture. I only really did it for the people.
Oh, I'm so proud proud of you all. It only reminds me. Excuse me. I'm so proud of you all. Thinking of what you've all done only reminds me of my own humble contribution. I was reclining in my palatial lounger, sipping a cup of Earl Grey, when it struck me. I couldn't just sit in my exquisite home, helping raise money for local charities, helping the poor, helping Yvonne run Horsham Elite Ladies Lockdown in my position as group secretary. I had to alleviate the suffering of others. I had to be a balm to those less fortunate. Then I remembered my online diploma in genetics I took a couple of years back. Well, I don't want to say too much. And the Nobel Prize for Medicine won't be announced till next spring. But between us, I don't think it'll be too long for us to wait for the vaccine. Just between us, naturally. It's Pamela. It looks like she's decided to join us at last.
Hello everyone. Oh, so sorry I'm late, Yvonne. The 11:30 briefing overran as usual. Ooh, how was Roger? Isn't he fantastic?
Good afternoon, Pam. So good of you to join us, eventually. We were just boosting our morale, sharing our lockdown hobbies. Do you have anything to contribute?
Not really, Yvonne, sorry. I'm still working full-time. They've got me planning the business strategy for the next 3 years. How we'll recover from the pandemic, ride out any Brexit waves, that sort of thing. It's really very dull.
There you go, love.
Thanks, love. I'm just having a quick chat with the girls. I'll start on dinner when I come off the call.
Take your time. I'll start on dinner now. You could do with a break.
You sure? Thanks. Sorry about that. I'm afraid the only thing I've achieved this lockdown is teaching Phil to make a proper cup of tea and use a doily for the biscuits. The rest of it is dull old work.
Pamela, did your husband just make you a cup of tea?
And he brought you biscuits? What sort?
Just shop bought, I'm afraid, Sheila. They're chocolate digestives.
I love chocolate digestives, but he brought them to you on a plate, not falling out of the packet.
And he knows how to use a doily.
Pamela, did your husband say he was going to start cooking dinner?
Yes, he always does the cooking, actually. I was going to give him a break. He's been catching up on household chores whilst he's been furloughed.
Pamela, are you available for next month's talk? I mean, really available. Book holiday if you have to.
I suppose I could do, Yvonne. Is it someone special next month?
Oh, yes, Pamela. It's you. I can't get my Tony to boil a kettle, let alone bring me biscuits and make the dinner. You're going to tell us how to train our husbands.
Oh, yes, hurrah!